Now that we've talked a little bit about wireless traffic in general, let's look specifically at some of the wireless encryption protocols out there. First we'll look at Wep, and then we'll take a look at WPA and WPA2. Now Wep, or Wired Equivalent Privacy, is the older of the wireless encryption standards. It came out right about the same time 802.11b did, and basically its goal was to make wireless networks pretty much the security equivalent of wired networks, because let's face it, wireless networks were broadcasting out into the clear in plain text, and they didn't even have the same protections that even a regular unsecured wired network had. At least with a wired network, you were in an enclosed environment. In a wireless network, you're not. Now, it worked pretty much for a while, but it wasn't too long before someone figured out how to break Wep, examined it, and determined that it uses a 24-bit initialization vector or key that is repeated occasionally. And all you really have to do is sniff the wireless traffic long enough after a few million broadcasts, and you'll get the wireless initialization vector. And then you can use that to crack the key and get into the network. Now, another reason is why Wep is insecure is that it uses RC4 as its encryption algorithm. Now, there's nothing wrong with RC4 by and large. It's an older algorithm, but the problem is Wep implements it in a very weak way. It's not a very strong implementation at all. So this makes it very easy to sniff and crack Wep keys and to break into wireless networks that use nothing but Wep. Now, while Wep has its problems, it's not the best security in the world. But if you do a ward drive down a residential area or even down a city block, you'll find that a lot of wireless networks still don't even use Wep. They're still out there in the clear. They're sending their traffic out in the open. So Wep's not the greatest security in the world, but it is better than nothing. So if you have older equipment that can't support WPA and WPA2, you might be left with using Wep until you upgrade your equipment. However, I would recommend that you do that because Wep has largely been superseded by WPA and WPA2. Let's go ahead and take a look at a quick traffic capture of Wep. We're going to just take a look at how some of the traffic looks. Now, this course isn't designed to teach you all about wireless traffic, but since we're talking about packet captures and packet analysis, I at least wanted you to get a look at a Wep traffic capture. Now, we're looking at a capture here in Wireshark, and I got this again from the ComView for Wi-Fi program that I've used, and of course, we can see the standard beacon frames, broadcast frames, and everything associated with Wep. We can see our SID and any other SIDs that are broadcast out. But I want to particularly point out a couple of packets, and number 168 is one such packet that I want to point out, and it's a Wep packet. And how you know that, if you can minimize all the frame information and stuff, and you will see that if you expand this out, you're going to see Wep parameters. Okay, and you can look at these Wep parameters if you like. You can see the initialization vector I spoke of earlier, and there should be a key index out there. You'll know which key is being used, keys 0 through 4, and you can see the actual data. And of course, you won't be able to tell what this data is. This is encrypted data. It really doesn't tell you anything. Now, if you listen long enough, sniff long enough on a wireless network, you can get the initialization vector, you can get the key, and you can break Wep very quickly. The record, I believe, is being broken every day, but I have heard of people doing it in just a few short minutes, and it wouldn't surprise me if that time gets shorter and shorter. So again, Wep is better than nothing, but it's not very great. So as you can see, we've got some encrypted data here, and if we look through here, we could probably see a few more Wep frames here and there. Another Wep frame here. Again, another initialization vector. And again, these initialization vectors can get repeated, so you have to watch for them, you have to sniff for them. Now, we're going to look at WPA and WPA2 in a minute, and you'll see why it's a little bit better of a protocol to use.